it will be difficult or challenging for a person who is not being present with their own challenges to have any kind of empathy or compassion for someone else. So this is how people reflect or project their own energy on others. If a person is not having compassion and empathy for other people, for whatever they're going through or whatever stage of life that they're at, it's because they're not having that for themselves. Because if you're having it for yourselves, if you're having the compassion and the empathy and the grace and the patience and the love for yourself through your own experience, you'll do the same to others. You'll have that same grace. You'll have that same patience. You'll have that same love. You'll have that same compassion, that same empathy, So you are always a reflection of yourself. Whatever you're going through, a person can't love past their own love that they're giving themselves, and that is just so very true in life, And so you just want to learn how to have that for yourself. And that's why the focus on self is so important. We tend to be so in the mode of projecting our energy, because we don't want to deal with what's going on with us, or maybe we don't know how to deal with what's going on with us. And maybe we don't, and because we don't know how, we do what we know, we do what we know. When you don't know something, you tend to do what you know. And a lot of times, because of our programming and just societal norms, we tend to act out, Just like with children act out because they don't know how to express their feelings. They don't know how to express and verbalize what they're going through. So they act out, and it's usually based on their environment, their home life, and their connection or relationship with those who are raising them, and the environment that they're in. So, it's the same with adults, because adults are children in a lot of ways too, just because we're of age, and we have certain levels of responsibility of ourselves, and we run around here doing things that we want to do. That doesn't mean that we're mature. It doesn't mean that we have the wherewithal, and it doesn't mean that we know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So in a lot of ways, adults have areas in their life that they're very underdeveloped in, and when we're like that, we act out. And that's where things like people become narcissistic, and they project, and they be in their ego, and all of these traits, that we love to talk about right now. These are heavy words and labels that we tend to brand people with, but at the root of all of that, as we learn these labels, let's identify with the root of the label. How do people become like that? Why are they acting out like that? There is a root cause for how people are acting, how people act. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a past, and that's all the reason why people tend to have the personalities that they have, you know. And so, you know, I like to be more in depth when it comes to people, because I know my own challenges and I know what I've been through and certain things that I've done that may not be the best, you know, way for me. It may not have been the best way for me to express myself, you know, or I lacked a certain level of integrity in certain ways, or whatever the case may have been. You know, those were times when I did not know. I was ignorant, you know, or I was caught up. And a lot of times, even being caught up in your ego, being a narcissist, is literally a person that's underdeveloped in a certain type of way. That's literally what that is, you know. And because, you know, we live in these society norms of, you know, you're an adult and you need to do this and act like this and be like this, and we think that that gives us license to have to know everything, you know, and have to be everything to everybody and show up in this certain way. It doesn't leave room for us to learn a lot of times. You know, we think that we have to, you know, oh, I'm this age, so I need to know this, and I need to show up like this, and I need to, you know, and then with, you know, the whole thing about making money and all of these other things even add to it, you know. And if you haven't done a lot of this development work, you know, then, you know, you get you some money, you get you some notoriety, you get you, you know, a mate, or, you know, some people around you that's, you know, in admiration of you, then you may never develop in certain ways, because you've been told yes and had yes men and people who don't help you to hold up in your integrity for so long, and money thinks you have this license to just be, you know, ignorant or walk around in your ego, you know. And so people, sometimes they never learn because they have these crutches, which really what they are, you know. Those things are crutches, you know. They're distractions, they're crutches, they're things there that are not really helping you. They could. It's all on the person, you know. Whoever you are is who you're going to be, whether you have money, whether you don't, whether you have fame, whether you don't. It doesn't matter, you know. So it's really about your own ability to, you know, self-actualize, self-realize, you know, and do that personal work that it takes, you know, to be the best version of you. And so, yeah, if you're not doing that personal work, and, you know, you've had people around you that have enabled you, you know, then you'll walk around here thinking you know it all, or you got it all together, and you really don't, you know. And it's kind of unfortunate, you know, when you see it. It really is. But, you know, this is who they chose to be in this life. So who am I to judge or to say that really that it is even unfortunate, because they're showing up in a certain way for the rest of us to show up in a certain way, you know. And so some of these people that show up in these ways are literally the people and the, you know, the experiences that we need to catapult us to the next level, to make us have to have a certain type of processing in our development so that we can become the best version of ourselves, you know. So everything serves a purpose, you know. That's definitely how I see it. You know, I can definitely confirm that for my life. Every situation, every person, everything has served a purpose, you know. And because I'm a person that tends to go inward, I'm very connected to the spirit side of me, I've never not been connected to that part of me. Even when I didn't know what that was, it was something inside of me that did know what it was, and so I trusted that part of myself. And even through my challenges in life, I always leaned in on that part of myself. And as I grew, learned, studied, made mistakes, took deeper dives into spirituality and spiritual practices, I learned and I grew and I learned what it was to make that connection with my spirit, be present with who I truly am, so that self-mastery and that spiritual work and really knowing thyself is all about you really knowing thyself, knowing how you think, knowing your emotional state, like really knowing who you are. And then that's just one part of it. The knowing is one part of it, but then becoming the master of those aspects of yourself is that's when you've really gotten to a level of mastery. When you can tell your mind what to do, when you know how to regulate your emotions and tell your emotions to respond this kind of way, that's when you've reached a level of mastery. And that comes from a level of maintenance in certain areas. You have to maintain integrity. You have to maintain your principles. You have to maintain morality. These are things that you have to stay in maintenance of, and there's levels to this, and so all of that is getting to know who you are, what you need, what you feel like you didn't have, and filling that void for yourself and not needing anyone or anything to be the placement holder for that, finding all the power from within, and being that for yourself, and so, and that's a process. It's a process, it's a process that we all have to go through, and, it takes time, and like I said, I'm not talking about linear time, like a year or two or 10 years from now. I'm not talking about that type of time. I'm talking about it takes time with yourself. You have to set aside time with yourself to grow yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to plant a flower, it's going to take time for the flower to grow, but you got to take time to plant the flower first. You know what I'm saying? And through nature, you know what I'm saying, of tending to that flower, it grows. And so that's what you have to do with yourself. You plant seeds, by working on your mindset, working on your emotions, following that up with actions that align with the reality, the mindset and emotional space and energy that you want to be in. Ultimately, the reality that you want to live in. Who do you want to be mentally? Who do you want to be emotionally? How do you want to show up in the world? And then you take actions towards that, and all of this trilogy has to align, your mindset, your emotions, and your, the action steps that you take. So if those aren't in alignment, then you just have more work to do, and that's okay. But you need to take that time, put that time in with yourself to grow yourself in that way until it becomes second nature.